Hi, and welcome to the Diamond Report for Thursday, April 6th, 2017. This is your host, Doug Diamond. I've got us looking at Earthquake 3D, the last 48 hours worth of earthquakes globally. I'm not going to stay on this very long today. I just wanted to show you some glaring silent zones that we have at the moment. We have a couple of deep earthquakes that have occurred pretty recently in the Fiji and Vanuatu area of the West Pacific. As I turn the rings up and down here, this is the normal size of the rings. If I back it down though so you can see better what's going on, you'll see that normally there's pressure being released in this area right through here in the West Pacific through Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands and so forth. And it's totally silent right now, which is highly unusual for that area to be silent. I mean, nothing is showing up. And also down through here, now there are some volcanoes in this area. However, earthquake activity has almost ceased right through here as well, southern Indonesia and up through Sumatra and even into Malaysia. So this whole area of the West Pacific, we're really going to need to watch closely because we've got a couple of pretty deep earthquakes over here in the 4.6 range and 5.6 range. So, you know, a release could be a magnitude or two above that. So this is a pretty big silent range right here. And also over here around Nepal, and because we've got earthquakes over here in the Middle East and then over here in around Malaysia. So the fulcrum point would be around Nepal, so we're going to need to watch that as well because that area normally does move and it hasn't moved recently. Now, the swarm is still happening in and around the Philippines. You can see this big stack. I mentioned this yesterday. They're all, you know, upper 2.0s, lower 3.0s for the most part. But it is interesting. That one's kind of swarming out at the moment. Everything else looks pretty normal. The other silent range that, silent zone that jumps out at me is this area right here again that moves pretty often. Southern Ecuador, northern Peru. So we'll watch that as well. That's likely to move in the next few days or so. And that's all for today's earthquake report. Just thought I'd show you that, and we'll jump on into the headlines. From technocracy.news, monopoly, global food supply controlled by 10 companies. The combined weight of sales from just 10 companies is $358 billion per year in revenue, and the pressure to consolidate further continues. To say this is unhealthy for the world is an understatement. And here you can see the consolidation, all of these different companies, from Coca-Cola to PepsiCo to Nestle to Kellogg's and so forth. It's unbelievable, but that's what happens with manufactured food. From Amazon.com, technocrat Jeff Bezos, the future of mankind lies in escape to outer space. Technocrats and transhumans alike see the future of man in the galaxies rather than on Earth. Both Bezos and Elon Musk, among other tech elites, want to colonize the moon as well as Mars. Well, they may be too late. The truth is, though, that this kind of thinking is really, they're putting it out there for the public consumption, but it's really just applying to them. They think they're above the rest of us, and they're the ones that want to escape, and they want to leave us here on Earth. And here's a few more headlines on technocracy.news. What comes after the death of the smartphone? Culture change. 1 in 4 believe robots would make better politicians. Google's DeepMind discovers how to remember outcomes and learn faster. AI bots are learning to create and interact with their own language. Hotel run by robots opens near Tokyo with pledge to expand. Mobile phones use artificial intelligence expected to explode. Florida Transportation Authority, driverless vehicles will replace rail system. So I guess they're talking about self-crashing cars. The UN and the EU are developing a universal definition of the city. From jihadwatch.org, death of free speech. Germany approves bill imposing massive fines for online hate speech and fake news. Boy, it's a good thing I don't live in Germany. From the Daily Mail, the robot sex experiment that lets machines evolve by passing genetic material across several generations. UFO enthusiast mysteriously vanishes, leaving behind a den filled with secret codes, 14 encrypted books, and a statue of 16th century philosopher who predicted aliens' existence. From PamelaGeller.com, American pastor jailed in Turkey pleads for White House help. On SkywatchTV.com, The Great Inception Part 11, The Mystery of Inanna, patron goddess of Nimrod. Then Steve says, important background on the now unfolding Great Deception as the world leaders welcome the return of Nimrod and the fallen angels. For more insight into Nimrod and how that ties into CERN, I would highly recommend listening to the Anthony Patch Show on Fridays. You can find it on Truth Frequency Radio. Neonic pesticides detected in U.S. drinking water for the first time. That's on strangesounds.org. And from the Common Sense Show, Dave Hodges, Google and YouTube waging demonetization war on alternative media to bankrupt independent journalism. Yeah, I mentioned this yesterday. Some of my videos are being demonetized. America is falling from within. America is in moral freefall. The open and blatant lying from the halls of our once great experiment in self-government has exposed a crumbling foundation of a city that once illuminated the world. That's on News with Views. Lee Stranahan, ideological coup by Kushner-linked Goldman globalists destroying Trump's White House. That's on Zero Hedge. North Korean hackers are reportedly targeting numerous banks worldwide for a massive global digital heist. River of red-hot lava is captured flowing down the side of Mount Etna in breathtaking drone footage. It's on the Daily Mail. 50% of Americans live payday to payday. 33% can't write a $500 emergency check. That's on Zero Hedge too. Incredibly disturbing animation reveals how vaccines are really made. Warning, this will turn your stomach. That's on Natural News. Only 10 companies control almost every large food and beverage brand in the world. Yeah, I mentioned that just a little while ago on technocracy.news. This is on The Independent. Vast secret facial database. If you've been to the DMV to have your driver's license photo taken, there's a good chance your face is in a little-known group of databases that functions like a digital police lineup. That's on fastcompany.com. Chilly desert combed for clues to life on Mars. Scientists have detected traces of water and methane gas on Mars, raising hopes of finding life there. Within our solar system, there is nowhere but Mars with such conditions for life. Yes, more Mars stories. False flag. Ron Paul says Syrian chemical attack makes no sense. It's on the Daily Caller. From the Daily Mail, upgrading humans into gods will be the next billion-dollar industry, expert claims. Experts said today's humans will become obsolete within the next 60 years. Steve says, the seduction of good and evil. Absolutely. Open your eyes, social democracy is collapsing. It's unlimited rule by self-proclaimed elites who think they know better than the rest of us how to manage our lives. That's on fee.org. NOAA has been rapidly losing temperature data, and now less than 50% of the stations report each month. When this happens, NOAA simply makes up fake temperatures for that station, which allows them to generate any result they want. From Dane Wigington on geoengineeringwatch.org, false flag chemical weapons attack pushes World War III while global geoengineering omnicide continues. From TrueNews.com, the art of the deal, get me some Syria. Did President Trump strike a deal with the neocon deep state over Syria? Today on True News, Rick Wiles discusses the unraveling plot to decapitate the Assad regime at the risk of starting a world war with Russia. From Dave Hodges in the Common Sense Show, cannibalism, vaccines, chimeras are destroying the human race. That's with Dave Hodges and Mike Adams. And more on cannibalism. Ancient cannibals didn't just eat for the calories, study suggests. Steve says, doesn't get any more mainstream than this. You are being conditioned and fattened up for the days of Noah's return. That's on New York Times. Absolutely. And with all the media attention that Cannibalism is getting, from the new Netflix series to musicals that are touring the country right now, they're definitely working hard on conditioning us. The battle of the ages has begun. The nature of this war is supernaturally evil. What will the righteous do? Shadow government ramping up efforts to get Trump into World War III. That's on All News Pipeline. Donald Trump has just committed the U.S. to a disastrous war in Syria. That's from Michael Snyder of the Economic Collapse blog. From Zero Hedge, Germany passes bill to fine Facebook and Twitter up to 50 million euros for fake news. Syria denies and condemns use of chemical weapons. And then Ron Paul says zero chance Assad was behind the chemical weapons attack in Syria, likely a false flag. You think? Dems officially vote to block Gorsuch as Republicans prepare a nuclear vote for later today. That's on Zero Hedge. Rand Paul urges Trump not to take military action in Syria. Putin rebukes Netanyahu over groundless accusations on suspected chemical incident in Syria. That's on RT.com. Europe should brace itself for more attacks, top EU anti-terrorism official said to RT. 40% of Americans are more cautious about emails after alleged DNC hack. China can't live with a unified Korea, with U.S. potentially on their doorstep. That's from Sputnik News. And from RT.com, Dutch coloring book with Hitler's picture pulled from the shelves. From Paul Craig Roberts, Germany, RIP. On Breitbart.com, Duterte orders Philippine troops to South China Sea reefs. Judge Napolitano roars, Rice and Obama committed felonies. Well, of course they did, but will they ever be held accountable? That's what I want to know. Report shows spy agencies routinely unmask lawmakers' everyday lives. That's on Zero Hedge. 8 detained in St. Pete in connection with Metro Blast. Explosive found. That's on Sputnik News. Americans worry about hunger and homelessness as income drops and jobs dry up. That's on SHTFplan.com. This potentially unconstitutional provision of Obamacare is being ignored by everyone. That's on Natural News. Well, the whole idea of Obamacare and a national health care system itself is completely unconstitutional. It's nowhere in the enumerated powers that specifically says what the government can do. Senate votes to end filibusters of Supreme Court nominees after McConnell pulls the trigger on nuclear option to put Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. Sean Hannity on allegations Obama administration spied on him. I will sue all involved, he says. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Paris horror, elderly Jewish woman thrown from apartment to her death to the cry of Allah Akbar. Marine Le Pen on course to win first round of French presidential election, poll reveals. Noam Chomsky calls Democrats' obsession with Russia conspiracy theories a joke. In a video from Paul Joseph Watson on InfoWars, pedophiles rule the world. The truth about who controls the international sex trafficking of children. From SputnikNews.com, Syria, the toxic meltdown. And leaked documents show how Soros spins big to keep populists out of power in Europe. That's on the Daily Caller. Chemical Weapons 2017, What Just Happened in Syria. That's on Activist Post. Pro-war Trump statements on Syria in direct contrast to anti-war tweets in 2013, both over chemical weapons. Just say no, Trump being pressured by the neocons to attack Syria. CNN has child read off of a script to push for war in Syria to oust Assad. That's on Information Liberation. Stocks tank after Tillerson warns Russia of coalition steps underway to remove Assad. That's on Zero Hedge. Do you believe the Syrian government is brain dead? Because that's the only way the sarin gas strike makes sense. Bannon responds, I love a gunfight. That's on Zero Hedge. On newsprepper.com, Dr. Ben Carson just discovered mammoth fraud of $500 billion at HUD. These 8 retailers will file for bankruptcy next, according to Fitch. From Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show, is this the last generation of humans? Evil plans of the elite. Your first medical diagnosis is probably wrong. says a study, for only 12%, the diagnosis remained unchanged with a second opinion. An InfoWars exclusive, Mike Cernovich exposes pedophile control system. The deep state is using pedophile blackmail to control people. Yeah, they've been doing that for decades. That's exactly what they do. They get people in compromising positions and pictures of them, and they blackmail them and make them do whatever it is they want, whatever the power structure wants. Democrats call for Alex Jones's arrest. Attack on press freedom intensifies to new level. Senator Ron Johnson says, what we do know about Susan Rice is you can't believe what she says. That's on Breitbart. Joel Skousen says, North Korea trigger for World War III. Roger Stone explains why Steve Bannon was removed from National Security Council. A bill would ban alcohol on Oregon beaches. Currently, drinking alcohol is allowed on Oregon beaches for people 21 and over. Sick of fancy white people. Possible hate crime charge against New Jersey woman who attacked man in vehicles, used a hammer to damage a boat and SUV, and also clawed a man in altercation. Joel Skousen says, the doomsday clock has almost run out. The world is on the brink of war and everyone needs to be prepared for the worst. Media silent as Federal Reserve official admits to leaking info to hedge fund. Official also admits he intentionally withheld information from initial 2012 investigation into the leak. That's from the anti-media. Busted, quote, safest neighborhood, home to global sex trafficking ring. Large international trafficking bust in one of America's safest cities. How Google threatens a vibrant free speech. Google is running a silent campaign to gain control of the FTC. Twitter censors Drudge and Trump tweet. The fight for freedom of speech is intensifying. End Department of Education for local control and constitutional government. Trump could save the American education system. And Twitter sues the feds to protect the ID of a user behind an anti-Trump account. Okay, that's it for today's Diamond Report. Thanks for listening and watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you would, and I'll see you tomorrow.